Alrighty. All right. Okay, so we're here, REGEX for DBAs. It's got a much longer title that I can never remember, so we'll just move on. There we go, the vanity slide. Who here has not seen me speak? Exactly. All right, so y'all are in luck because it's the first 2 rows that are the splash rows. All right, so I'm Sean McCown. That's not listed anywhere. It's kind of listed there, but not really. I am a certified master in SQL. I've been doing this for 22 years, maybe 23, I don't know. I'd have to count. It's 2018, 23 years. I own and operate MidnightDBA.com, which is our training site. 100% free training videos. We don't charge a thing. We don't ask you for an email address, nothing. Everything on there is 100% free. You can do anything on there. You can do anything with them you want. You can download them, burn them onto CDs, pass them out to your user group. You can do anything except what? Yes, very good. Don't give it away. Give somebody else a chance. I'm also the principal and best consultant at Midnight SQL Consulting. Feel free to tweet that. And we're also Minionware software makers of the world famous Minion Backup and Reindex and CheckDB and Minion Enterprise. Did I skip anything? No, I think I'm good. And let's talk about REGEX. Just like in the last session, I'm going to make that whole slide deck available to you. Man, tough room. All right, REGEX. Everybody see that okay? Good. I don't need this. I don't need, oh, I do need that. Damn. Let me start with Object Explorer. Click in here, Control F. Okay. It's perfect. All right. So, REGEX. I think it's in line 17. Nope, it sure isn't. It's line 13. A regular expression is a special text string for describing a search pattern. I never, ever remember that, but it is a fabulous definition. I usually like to start this session off. Well, let me ask, before I do that, how many people in here don't know anything at all about REGEX? Perfect, you are in the right place. You probably know quite a bit. Yep, you just came in to see if I screw up, didn't you?
This was the most appealing class.
Perfect. Well, if nothing else, I'm going to give you some good ideas. Okay. So I usually like to start this off by having you guys read this sentence. I want somebody to read this sentence for me in English. It's not a trick question. Go ahead. Somebody read it out loud. Beautiful. Now I want you to read that, everybody but you. I want you to read that out loud as a REGEX expression. Nice try. Okay, I'm going to read it as REGEX because I just gave you the definition. So this is what the definition means. 5 alpha characters followed by a space, followed by 3 alpha characters, followed by a single tick, followed by 1 alpha character, followed by a space, followed by 5 alpha characters, and on and on and on. Okay? REGEX doesn't have the first clue of what you're talking about. It recognizes string patterns, just like I just said. That alone is probably 80% of understanding REGEX right there, is understanding how REGEX thinks and what it expects you to think when you're telling it what to do. This is going to be a very gentle introduction into REGEX, but it's going to give you some really cool ideas, and we are going to change your life today. I swear it, we're gonna. All right, now let's look at a use case for REGEX so you'll know why it's even really necessary and why it's necessary in Management Studio, because we're not leaving Management Studio, right? This isn't going to be, I said this was for DBAs, right? It's not, so I'm not going to show you how to do it in the .NET framework so that you can add REGEX to your queries or any of that. No. We're going to be doing cool stuff with our code in SMS. So let's take a look at this. I've got these statements right here. What I want to do is I want to surround all of these guys here in square brackets. Easy enough. Everybody knows the AltSelect trick, right? I just did it. You push down Alt, and you can select up like that. So if I want to do something like that with this, I can just say square bracket, DBO, square bracket, if I can find it, square bracket, dot, square bracket, and now I only have to deal with the end. So I don't really need a lot of regex for this, right? But this does put me square in the middle of summer games, right? Anybody play summer games? I played it in the 80s when I was in junior high, right? Summer games, right? And you have to the pole vaulting and the springboard jump, right? What do? You got the runner. You run and you jump, right? You run and you jump, right? Well, what do I have here? Break it down, 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 right? This puts me right square in the middle of summer games. And then I look up at the screen and I realize that I'd hit one of them twice and I was putting the square bracket here instead. Damn it. So again, you got to Control Z, 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 get back up there, right? So that's going to work until you get right here. Then you got to go down, out, and then you're right back where you started, right? That's pretty easy for something like this. Now, I could do this as well, right? And then I just got those two to deal with. Not that big of a deal. But if I've got 70 of these things, try to select something that goes way down the list like that, right? Now that works okay. Control Z is your friend, don't forget. But what about something like this now? Where I still need to surround them in square brackets. And they're not lined up. And I can't do a straight find and replace because the schemas are different, the tables are different, right? So what I need to be able to do is I need to be able to recognize two bouts of text separated by a period. Like that, right? So that's really the kinds of problems that we solve with regex, is learning how to recognize these patterns and then do something with them. Okay, so we are going to start right here. Now, all of these code samples are already online, and I'll put them online with this video as well. And every one of them explains exactly what they do. So you could learn pretty well from this, right? Okay, so we've got an assignment here. What we've got to do is we've got to set all of these databases offline. We got an email from a dev, gave us a list of databases, right? They said, set these offline, we're done with them. Okay, well, there are a couple ways we could go about this. First and foremost, we could use our AltSelect trick, right? So I could come here, I could Alt and select, and if you see, there's a thin red line up there, right? And then I could just, I'm going to put caps lock on, and I could say alter database space. But then I've got this jagged right problem, right? I can't do my summer games, right? Because they're all over the place. So what I need to do is I need to find a way to recognize the end of a line and put something at the end of the line, right? Okay, I am going to say Control Z, because as long as I do that, I might as well recognize the beginning of the line and put something at the beginning of the line too. Okay, so let's see what we got for that. Oh yeah, there we go, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to highlight these because I only want to do this to the selection. Now a lot of people work in Management Studio. How many of you guys are in Management Studio a lot? Right. It's amazing to me how many people work in Management Studio all the time and have never seen this little checkbox. So click this little Use Regular Expressions checkbox. Now, I want to find the beginning of the line, which in regex is a caret. That's a Shift 6. I don't want to search in the entire selection. I want to only search in the current solution. I want to only use the selection. Blah, blah, blah. And so I'm going to replace that. and I'm going to replace it with alter database space. Now when I hit go, replace all, I'm going to get that. Now, I need to recognize the end of the line. And for the end of the line, we are going to use whack R, whack N with a question mark. This will make more sense in a couple, 3 more slides. You won't be asking, well, what does that mean, right? But for now, just know that that's the end of a line. And I'm going to look for the end of the line, and I'm going to replace it with space. And let's say, what did I say we need to do? Oh, yeah, set offline. Now, I'm going to give it a new line and the word go. And I need to copy my thing again. I need to highlight my thing again. There we go. I want to search in the selection again. I'm sorry? Don't get ahead of the story. Now, when I replace all, I said, I got it. No, I don't. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, you're right. Thanks. Did I ever tell you guys I'm known as the bumbling DBA? Replace and selection. Get rid of that so I can see my replace all. There we go. Beautiful. Thanks for that. Now, as he noted, it's not going to catch this last one because there is no end of line, right? Which brings up a really good point. A lot of the things that I show you guys today aren't going to be one-stop solutions, right? I'm not interested in taking a whole bunch of stuff, of cramming a whole bunch of stuff into a single command, right? What you're going to do, and you'll understand when you see the kind of stuff that we're going to do, that the nature of this stuff is completely different, right? What you're going to do is you're going to look at the code and you're going to say, okay, I need to do this, boom. Okay, and then I need to do this, blam. Now I need to do this, blam, right? So you're going to, some of this stuff you can do in one command, and some of the stuff you're going to want to, you not only can't do in one command, but you're going to want to inspect it as you go along to make sure that, you don't get this whole big thing done and then look and there are just mistakes everywhere, right? Now, how would you fix a mistake like this? Right? A lot of times you're trying to take something down from several minutes or several hours down to just a few minutes or a few seconds, right? And you might have to clean up just a couple things, right? Could I make this so that it did it? Absolutely, right? But since I've already done it and I realized that didn't have a return at the end, then just copy it and move on, right? Yeah, I could Control Z, then I'd come over here and I could put a carriage return at the end and then do it again. But that's more effort than just copying and pasting it, putting it at the end, right? So now, could I have done all of this in one go? Absolutely. And I'm going to show you in a couple slides or in a couple code samples. We're going to do some pretty cool stuff with this. All right, everybody understand this so far? We found the beginning of the line with a what? With a caret, and we replaced it with alter database space. Then we found the end of the line with this guy right here. Actually, I'll start talking up here with this guy right here, and we replaced it with set offline \n. It is case sensitive. Go. Alrighty, let's move on. Now, we've got the exact same list here. The same list of databases, same task, only this time, I think I may have upset the dev or something because he sent it to me in a comma-delimited list instead. Okay, fine. So what is my goal here? My goal is to set all these guys offline, right? I already know how to do that from a list of databases. You've seen me, right? We've done that. But I need to get this looking like it did before so that it's just going down one column so I can add my alter database stuff, right? So here, this one's actually pretty easy. I am going to highlight that entire thing. I'm going to search for a comma and a space, and I'm going to replace it with nothing. New. I'm going to replace it with a new line. There we go. Now, and I'm searching not the entire solution, but just my selection, replace all. And now I'm ready for my caret, alter database space, whack R, question mark, whack N, so on and so on, right? So I'm just getting this back to where I can do something with it. Now, this seems like a pretty obscure task. Oh, I want to take this and do it like that, right? But I use this several times a day because I write insert statements all the time, right? And what's the first thing that happens when you write an insert statement, guys? Almost every time, insert select. What is it? You know.
Insert select.
Yeah. What's the first thing that happens every time you do that and then you hit execute? What happens? Yeah, the column list supplied does not match the column list in the insert statement, right? You always get that column mismatch error, right? Well, in my code editor, I've always got the columns going down so I can see them easier so I don't have to scroll, right? It's easier for me to scroll with my finger than it is to go across, right? So what's the first thing I do? I take all of the columns listed in the insert and I pivot them this way. I take all the ones in the select and I pivot them that way and I line them up. And now it's really easy. Ah, that's the one that's missing. I do it, then I pivot them back and I go on about my business. I do it all the time. So this is a very useful command. Now, let's go on to the next one. This one, I know I pissed him off now because he sent it to me with this ridiculous, what's that, a tab, a space, some combination of spaces and tabs, no space at all right here. And so the whole thing just gets worse and worse and worse. Look, what's the matter with him, right? So I've got to find a way to do the same thing. I need to pivot them all, right? Can I search for a comma space and have it work? No, because that's a comma and a space. I'm not going to get anything out of that, right? So I need to be able to recognize, I need to be able to take all of these extra spaces out. So in regex, we're looking for a comma with a whack S. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and do this real quick. And I'm going to do the same replacement, right? So same thing, and we'll talk about that here in just a sec. So in selection again, replace all. And there we go. I'm right back where I started. Caret, alter database space, blah, 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 blah. Yes? Now, did I just say we were going to talk about it in a minute? I'm jacking with you, dude. Fair enough. Okay, so I'm looking for a comma. Now, this is a character class. It's a shortcut class. It means any space or tab. So it'll pick up spaces, it'll pick up tabs, right? This is a modifier. The asterisk is a modifier. It's a French modifier, actually. So in English, we say red shoes, and French, they say shoes red, right? So this modifies what came directly before it. It's a French modifier, right? So what we're saying is, I want you to find space or tabs, but how many of them? I want to find 0 or more. So is there a space? Yes. Are there 5 spaces and 7 tabs? Yes. Are there no spaces or tabs? Yes. This will find every single one of those scenarios. So whether there's a space or tab or not, I want you to find it. And since regex is greedy, what we mean by that is it's going to find everything it can. It's going to consume everything it can, right? Let's do Control Z, get back to where we were. So 0 or more spaces or tabs. Well, here's a tab, so it found that. Here's a space, so it found that. This is definitely going to be more spaces and more tabs. I don't know what combination of them are in here, but it's going to be more, right? And it's going to take, it's not going to find just the first one. It's going to find all of them until it gets to the first thing that's not a space or tab, which is the next word, right? There's one, so it'll find it. There are none here. Will it be able to parse that as well? Yes, because there is a comma followed by 0 or more spaces. Same thing here. There's an awful lot of them here, and it's greedy. So it's going to find that comma. Then it's going to find all of these guys that it can, because that's what I told it to do. Does everybody understand that? Beautiful. Let's move on. I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to go to this one. And I've got to go till 2:30, right? Okay, yeah. Okay, now, I like this one because it shows a real production scenario. Before I do that, let me tell you how I got started in REGEX, because this is a good story. I'll keep it short. I was a lead DBA in a very large org where I pissed almost every dev in the place off, because I was brought in to lock them out of the databases, right? And of course, they always appreciate it when you take part of their job from them and, you know, lock them out of production, right? In fact, most of the time when I go to places, devs for like the first for the first 2 months are taking me out to lunch to thank me for locking them out of their systems that they've had access to for the last 7 years, right? So we were starting up this new, we were bringing in a new application. And this was, I don't know, 10 years ago. So we were bringing in this new application, and we had to put all the users in the database for the application. And it turns out that they sent me a list of the users that needed it. It was something like 1,700 users that I had to put in there. And remember, I'm one of their favorite guys, right? So he sent me an email with all of the usernames that needed access, and they were AD accounts, in paragraph form, just a comma delimited list in paragraph form, just no line breaks, no nothing. They weren't all lined up down here. Nope. So I opened up that email and I looked at that and I was just like, all right. So but then I remember I was like, you know, I've heard of this regex thing. I think I'll give that a try and see if I can make hay with that, right? 10 minutes later, I had the answer. Blam, right? All I needed was them down like this, right? And then I looked up the rest of it. So 10 minutes later, I had all of the commands formatted from that list, create login from Windows, blah, 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 right? For the next 4 days, walked around going, man, God, I can't believe this. Man, they sent me this list of things like this, and oh man, it's hell. I'm sitting there just copy and pasting stuff all day long, and it's just, oh my God, it's murder. And they're over there going, yeah, that's right. And I'm like, whatever, dude. I did that in 10 minutes. And I never looked back. I've done nothing but learn regex since then because it's so cool. Now, this too comes from quite a bit of production pushes where I get code from devs. Is there anybody in here who's a T-SQL dev? I mean, like, do that for your job? Good. They're the dumbest guys on the planet. You'll hate them. Don't ever meet one. Okay, so they want me to put these SPs in production, but all of them already exist. So I have to change create to alter. Sounds really easy, doesn't it? I just want to, every time I find create, I want to change it to alter, right? No. How come I can't do that?
The word might be used somewhere else.
Might be used what?
Might be used somewhere else for a column name or something weird like that.
Or creating temp tables inside the SPs, maybe?
Yeah, that too.
Right? That too? Right? Okay, so I can't do that, right? Okay, that's fine. I can just do create space proc. I can just do a straight. Okay, so there's, oh, Jesus. Oh, crap. Ah, my friend. And so on, and so on, and so on, right? So same thing we did before, now we're going to do it here, right? Now, I can't just, even if all of these were create space proc or create space procedure, I still couldn't search for just create space proc, right? Because if I did that and tried to change them all to create space procedure, right, I would end up with create space procedure, right? So, okay, that said, let's learn what we're going to do. I'm going to start by searching for create. Then I'm going to look for a whack S. What is a whack S? Spaces or tabs, right? I said it enough in the last one. Y'all should remember that. Followed by a plus. A plus is another French modifier, isn't it? We'll talk about that in a second. We're going to talk about the plus in a second. Followed by the word proc. Now, also followed by eager in parentheses with another modifier. Now, this brings up another good point. Nobody writes regular expressions. They eke them out slowly, right? Nobody reads regular expressions. They decipher them. Correct? Yeah. The longer they get, the more okay, this does that, that does that, that does that, that does that, that I lost my parentheses, I got to start over again. Oh, it can be hell, right? Which is another reason why I do things in 2 and 3 and 4 passes, right? Because when they start getting long, you can't remember the entire expression. It's easier for me to remember small chunks. I'm a DBA. We're not that bright, right? So it's easier for me to remember small chunks of things and do one thing, then another thing, then another thing, than it is to remember all of this long line of text, right? Not only that, but the more complicated you make this, the more bugs you're going to introduce. And, then you've got to debug it, which is even harder. So anyway, all right, so let's talk about the plus. The star means what? 0 or more. So plus means 1 or more with the same greediness, right? So we're enforcing here that there must be at least one space between create and proc. Syntactically, that's correct, right? Now, does everyone in here have at least one space in there? Yeah, it does, right? If not, it would error out, right? So, yes, it does. Could we get away in that case with using a star there instead? Or does it have to be a plus? I like the way you think, but no. No. We already know that they have more than one space, right? So therefore, 0 or more will cover that, right? So therefore, we know that star would work here, but we're using plus because I want to enforce that for sure to you guys. Gives me an excuse to teach you plus, right? But yeah, if we had create procedure in there, right? Like if we had some in there that didn't have a space in there, I could use a star and use that to separate them out. Absolutely, right? But since we know they have it, then star will work. Okay, so create followed by at least 1 or more spaces, followed by the word proc, followed by EDURE. That's the rest of the word procedure for those of you who can't keep up. In parentheses, that makes it a group. So that means that these guys have to be together, right? So EDURE as a group. How many times? 0 or more. So I'm looking for create space proc or create space procedure because this is optional. Does everybody understand that? Perfect. And I'm going to replace it with alter procedure. It's nice and standardized, right? So I'm going to copy this guy here, put him in there, copy that guy there, put him in there, replace all, not in the entire solution, but in the current document. 10, beautiful. Alter procedure, alter procedure, alter procedure. Life is good, right? Now I am ready for the code push. Let's move on. This one is good. The exact same SP list, by the way. They want us to push all of these to prod. None of them exist, so the create procs are just fine. But does anybody see a problem? Anybody that writes code or reads code? No goes. Yes. But you know what? He still swears up and down it works when he does it in QA. Okay. So we need to put goes after each one of these. So how do I teach regex what the end of an SP looks like so I can put a go after it? Don't mumble. Say it. No. Yes, exactly. So instead of concentrating here on adding it to the end, I'm going to add a go before each one, right? So it's the same thing. Now, I can easily do this in one pass, but I'm going to do it in 2 passes just to show you, because I like to standardize things, right? So I'm going to do the exact same thing I did before, only instead of alter procedure, I'm going to standardize it to create proc, like that. There we go. Then I'm going to look for create procedure. And I'm going to standardize that with go 2 new lines and then create procedure. Like that. Sometimes, man, the Visual Studio stuff just gets in the way. There we go. Now when I look here, I've got go stored create proc, go create proc, go create proc. And is life good? What's going to happen if I leave that go up here? Anybody? Yeah, nothing's going to happen, right? But if it really bothers you, that's some of that cleanup we were talking about before, right? But we are still not good. We are most definitely not good. What's wrong with this picture, guys? Somebody said it. Yeah. See how this is begin time get, and the comment for begin time get is part of the previous SP now? So here's the difference between what we just did. In the first one, when we changed create to alter, we didn't make any substantive changes to the SPs. We just made a deployment change, right? But here, they've got a comment that goes with one of the SPs, and we put it in a different SP. So is life good? Not even a little bit, right? Because we have made a substantive change to that SP. And if that's a comment that they need in that SP, you've just changed it. And what's going to happen? He's going to go to the boss, and he's going to say, I sent him this, and he ran this. Whose fault is it? Oh, yeah, it's yours, for sure, right? If there were a dev in here, I'd point to him, right? But it's definitely yours because you made that change. Now, he shouldn't be putting comments above the create procedure, right? So that's his bad, right? So as a DBA, we've got DBAs in this room. How do you solve this problem? To begin with. They do in this one, but I wouldn't count on it. How do you solve this problem? Anybody? Come on, I got DBAs in here. You've found this situation before. How do you solve the problem? It's the good old dev boot in the ass. Always assume they're, oh, you mean to get, no. I mean originally, let's do the Control Z and say, okay, right? Now we're back to no goes, right? How do you solve that problem? Yeah, the dev boot in the ass, right? This won't deploy. This won't deploy. Fix it. Well, it worked in QA. Sure it did, dear. Show me. All right. I am going to run out of time, so. Now, which one is this? Right. Drop table. Remember we started with the square brackets? We're going to finally do this one. Now, this one, remember in the last session when I said, when we got to get member and I said, if you don't listen to anything else, listen to this, right? This is that one. This is the one that's going to change your life because it is so incredibly cool. You're going to say, you're going to cheer and you're going to stomp and you're going to shout. Aren't you? That's right. Okay. So we're going to recognize these guys. So first, I'm going to highlight this. And we all know that we can put drop table at the beginning of this, right? How would I do that? Caret. That's right. I want to search for a caret. All right. Now we're going to learn word classes. WAC W is word class. So alpha characters, right? And actually word classes actually include $ and underscore and regex. So a little bit of a coder mentality there in their alphabet, right? So what am I looking for here? I'm looking for words, right? I'm looking for letters. We'll just say letters, even though I mean the other two characters as well. How many letters am I looking for? One or more. Does anybody here have a table or a schema that doesn't have at least one letter in it? Okay, good. Followed by a period. We're going to talk about this in a second. Followed by what? The same thing, right? At least one more letter, right? Well, doesn't that look like schema and table to you? Now, if you look over here in this little expression builder, you've got some more common regex expressions, and one of them is a period. And it says match any character one time. So it doesn't matter what the character is, it's just, there's a character, boom, right? So period means any character at all. You'll see us use that again. You'll see us use that here again in a minute, right? But since that means any character at all, I'm not looking for any character, am I? I'm looking specifically for a period in between these two words, right? So I have to put a backslash in there to escape it and say, no, I'm not looking for any character. I'm looking for literally a period, right? So that's an escape character. So I'm looking for these guys, followed by literally a period, followed by these guys, right? Now, this is where the magic comes in. I'm going to go ahead and paste this over here. The magic comes in these parentheses. Parentheses are what? Groups, right? But what I haven't told you yet is that they're capture groups. This is cool. Capture groups capture the result text from this match. So anything in here, we're gonna call this one the schema, right? So the schema is what's going to match this because it's all of the letters before the period. So it's going to capture this. And then it's going to take all of the ones after the period and it's going to capture those. And here's what it's going to do. When it captures these, it's going to store them up here in a memory buffer. And when it captures these, it's going to store them up there in a memory buffer. When it captures these, it's going to store them in this memory buffer, and it's going to call that memory buffer number 1. When it captures these, it's going to put them in their own memory buffer, and it's going to call them number 2. Regex. Some real solid thinkers there, right? Now that I've captured both of these guys, and they've both got their own memory buffers, and they're both named appropriately from left to right, right? I can access those guys. So now I'm going to say I'm going to replace whatever you find here with the contents of number 1 that I use with the dollar, that I access using a $sign, surrounded with square brackets. Then I want to print a period, and then I want to take the contents of number 2 and surround it with square brackets. Everybody good? Cool on what this means? So let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to replace that with this. I'm going to highlight everything. There we go. And yeah, let's go ahead and do the entire solution. Why not? And I'm going to replace all. And I've got my brackets. Not bad, right? And I can still go back and I can still do my alternate, my drop table thing, right? Alrighty. I'm going to Control Z. Now this next one, same table list. I'm going to do this next one, and then I'm going to explain it. Okay? Now this one, I'm just going to close my box and walk out the door if you guys don't jump up and start cheering. All right. So let me find where I need to be. We're using our dots now. Because you know what? We've had it with that dev. We just don't care anymore. Oops. Jesus Christ. It's all the function things, you know? Shift, function, end. There we go. Jeez. Come over here. So now, I've got my list of tables, correct? I'm going to search in selection again. Replace all. And I have turned this guy, and I did something weird there somehow, but I've turned this into an if exists drop scenario from a list of tables. Yeah, right? In fact, for this one, I just need to like go up there. I've clearly got like an extra line feed in there somewhere, right? So that, unlike devs, yeah, go ahead, come on. There you go. Because you know I'm just gonna like edit extreme applause in anyway. So when you go back and hear this, it'll be like a truck rally. All right, that's right, all 700 of you. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, so unlike devs, we don't like code that's built to fail, right? So, yeah, right? So, okay, I'm going to talk you through this one real quick, and then I'm going to get to the big one that I really, really like. All right, it's very simple. I wrote the original script that looks like this, and then I just went through and made my replacements. So, right? $1, $2, $1, $2. You get the idea here, right? And then $1, $2, and so on and so on. And then I did what? So what do I have here? I have a comment with 1 and 2 and all that. Okay, so that's what I did up here. Comment $1, $2, new line. If exists, select one from sysobjects where it equals $1, and the name is $2. Begin, new line, drop table, 1, 2. new line, end, go, new line, right? There's no rocket surgery here. I just expanded what we already did, right? And so what you'll do here is you'll take something like this, and then you'll run through it, and you'll come up with something like this, and you'll go, oh, okay, I need to put another new line in there. So you'll put another new line in there, and then do that, and you'll just keep whittling it down until you get it. You know, I did this one originally for 70-something tables that needed to be dropped out of a system. And the reason I came up with this was because the dev actually started deleting the tables, got bored, then sent me the entire list of tables. And they started failing when I ran it, and I was like, all right, fine. I'm supposed to be a regex god now, right? All right. Now, this one is a real-world scenario as well, and I'm going to have to start talking faster. So this came about. I got a customer who said, we bought a new SAN, and we need you to move all of our databases to the new SAN this Friday. It was Wednesday. And I said, no problem, right? I got on the server and looked at it. There were 90-something databases on there. I was like, oh, maybe there's a small problem. So looked at the files. Each one of them had, of course, at least 2 files. A lot of them had many more. And they were spread over a couple dozen LUNs. And I was like, oh, crap, right? Wait a minute. I'm supposed to be a regex god. Let's see what I can do, right? So what we're going to do here is we are going to move all of the files from their current location to their new location, and then write a PowerShell script to move the actual files. Okay? First thing we have to do is we have to learn how to recognize, we have to learn how to separate the path from the file name, right? So let's go ahead and do that. I am going to start with select star from master files, and I'm going to take the physical name here, and I'm just going to copy it all and put it in a new query. There, so I've got my list of files right here. Full paths. Let's take a look at how you would do this. I'm going to look at something that starts with the thing. Now, I'm going to whittle this away slowly. So first I want to be able to find the drive. Well, I can do that right here. Remember that whack-w is a word, right? You don't have to do a replace. I can just do a find. Okay, good. I found the drive. Perfect. Now, let's go back here, and we need to find the colon. Well, I'm going to escape that colon. Good. I can find the colon. Now, I need to find the backslash. Now, backslash is a character class identifier, right? It's a command identifier. So I have to escape that, right? So I've got 2 backslashes here, escaping, right? So now, oops, I did replace, didn't I? Let me come back to the top and say, there we go. Now, does anybody have a file that doesn't begin with a drive letter? I didn't think so, right? So now I need to be able to go. No, I'm not talking UNC paths, okay? Come on now, because on that server it starts with a drive letter, right? Now, does yeah, Unix. Okay, raise your hand if you think I give 2 craps about Unix. Okay, but I know Unix, right? Okay. But since this is for SQL DBAs, SQL doesn't run on Linux or Unix or anything, so. Okay, here we go. Does anybody have a file name that isn't immediately preceded by a backslash? No, right? Not even in Unix. Yeah, I know. God, man, y'all are just, y'all aren't taking any, anyway. Okay, so I'm going to have to jump back over here to explain it so that it's bigger so you can see it, right? So we're here. I'm looking for any character, right? Don't care what it is because there can be special characters and folder names and whatnot, right? So I'm not going to try to guess what you call your folders. I want any character one or more times. Does anybody have a folder name that doesn't have at least one type of character of any kind in it? No, not even in Unix. Followed by a backslash, right? So I want any characters followed by a backslash in a group, right? Now remember what I said about the regex engine being greedy. It wants everything it can find, right? Which means that it's going to find this as a group. Is there another one of those groups? Yeah. It's right here, right? Is there another one of those groups? Yep, yep, yep. Until you get to here, right? So that's the last one of those groups of characters followed by a backslash, right? So it's going to take that entire thing. Well, what do we call that? The file path, right? What do we call anything to the other side of that? The file name, right? So now I've learned how to separate the path from the file name, right? Beautiful. Alrighty. Now that we've got that out of the way, let's do something useful with it. I'm going to write my alter database command in dynamic SQL because I love code that writes code, right? So I'm going to run this guy right here, and I'm going to copy it to another query window. So I've got all my alter database statements here, modify file, file name equals that, but they're still in the same locations, right? So this is where I actually get to make my changes. So I know where all of the files are going, right? They're going to the new T drive that we've mounted as the new LAN, right? As the new SAN. So, and get rid of that. I'm going to take this guy, and this is getting pretty thick already, right? Remember what I said about deciphering these things? We'll talk about this code in a minute. Actually, sorry, that is a different one. It might be the same one, but just in case. There we go. Hope that's it. Right there. And I want to replace it with this right here. So I'm going to put them all on F drive. There we go. Come back here. Yeah, let's look in the entire solution again. Why not? So now I want to replace all. I'm at 131 changes, and with any luck, they are all in the new location. Right? Now let's take a look at what we did exactly, because this is getting a little bit thick. All right, so same thing we did before. This is the drive letter and backslash. I've got a question mark and a colon here. Now this introduces a brand new concept, as it says right here, non-capturing groups. Parentheses are capture groups by default, all right? But I don't want to capture this guy, right? So the question mark and the colon tells it it's a non-capturing group. So anytime I have a parentheses and right inside the parentheses, I have that question mark colon, it says don't capture this group, okay? And what don't I want to capture? I don't want to capture this whole front portion, right? So that first part, the file path, is what I don't want to capture because I'm throwing it away. I'm presenting a new file path, right? I don't care about that. But I do want to capture this guy right here, which is going to be the dot period, which is my file name, and my file name and my file extension right here, right? So here, I've got M, N, or L followed by DF. This pipe symbol in between those is an OR clause. So I'm looking for an M or an N or an L followed by a DF. What if I just want to move the log files? LDF. What if I just want to do the MDFs? MDF. What if I want to move them to different locations? Yeah, run it twice, one for MDF and one for LDF, right? And assign it a different replace, right? So you still took a task like this where I was moving several hundred files from a couple weeks worth of work to a couple minutes worth of work. Not bad, right? So, and with much greater accuracy, right? Because with all of these guys being in different locations, what are you going to do? Open up 2 or 3 dozen windows and physically drag them to the new location? Right? Not on my watch, right? Okay, so now that we've got this, we can save that as alterdatabase.sql and wait for Friday, right? We've still got to write our PowerShell script though, right? Piece of cake. We're going to come back to this one that we already did. And we're going to search for the same thing, I believe. Let me go down here a little bit. Yep, there we go. So I'm going to search for the same thing. Nothing changes. Only this time I'm going to replace it with move path 1, path 2. I am capturing that path this time because I want to be able to put the entire path in the move statement, right? And I'm going to move it to the new location of f:\\SQL data, and I think I need to put a backslash there. SQL data whack file name, right? Because I want to keep the same file name. And then I want to print a new line, and I just want to print after every one of them's finished, finished moving this file, right? So that when you're moving hundreds of files, it's just not a blinking cursor just sitting there, and you're like, is it doing something? Is it moving? Is it hung? Is it right? So I'm going to take that whole thing right here. I'm going to put that right there. One sec. As soon as I'm done with that, current document, replace all. Save it as .ps1 and wait for Friday night. Where's the question?
Can you show me where you were capturing number 1? As opposed to when you weren't capturing
Right. I am capturing number 1. Let me make sure I am. I may have copied that and not changed it. Oh, I'm in the wrong one. There we go. I'm capturing number 1 right here.
Oh, but it's not capturing the entire.
Right, right. These are sub-capture groups, right? This is a capture group on the outside that I am capturing the file path, and that's number 1, right? And then this inside one is non-capturing, right? So now I save that as .ps1 and wait for Friday night. I've only got a couple little things to tie up. I've got to put in a set database offline and a set database back online, right? And save those, set offline, set online.sql, and just wait for Friday night and run my scripts. And everything should go as planned. But since everything went as planned that night, and I've used this a couple dozen times since then, it does go as planned. And that is REGEX for DBAs, guys. Yeah.
So a ticket for 2016.
Yeah, but how often do you really get that? How often do you really get the advantage to? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.